Irvin. Rob, let's get into it. Story of the day, Ben Simmons. And remember when he showed up last week, I brought it up. I said, look, everybody was, his tail between his legs. Here he comes. I was like, well, let's see. Let's see what he's there for. Is he there, number one, the ball? All right. Is he there to play? Or two, is he there just to collect the paycheck and maybe fake an injury? Or three, is he there to act out a la James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis? Be a nuisance, a pest until you get traded, right? I think we have the answer, Rob. It was three. And today at practice, Doc Rivers asked him to get into a defensive drill, I believe it was. And Ben said no. And Doc said, Ben, get in. And Ben said no. And Doc said, just leave. And Ben walked out, and that was that. Here's Joel Embiid on it after the practice.
At this point, I don't care about that man, honestly. He does whatever he wants. That's not my job. That's those guys' jobs. I'm only focused on trying to make the team better. Our job is not to babysit somebody. We get paid to put just on the court, go out, play hard, win some games. That's all we get paid for.
Bravo. For real, Chris, enough already. I'm Joel Embiid, he's right. And it ain't fair to the other guys on the team, Chris. You can't do that. It's insubordination. No. If you're out there, you're at practice, you got a uniform on, get out there and practice. Otherwise, don't show up. Don't show up to get a paycheck. Tell them you're not playing. Right. And you won't play until they trade you and they don't have to pay you. Do that. That's being a man. It's standing on your ground and say, I don't want your money. I don't want to be here. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to practice. Find me, do whatever you want, and I'll sit and I'll wait until you decide to trade me. But to put on a uniform and go out on the court and tell your coach, no, you're not going to participate, that ain't a man, Chris. That's not what you're there for. You're wasting everybody's time. Everybody sees through it. They suspended him for one game, and a bigger one should come. And if I'm the Sixers, I would make him rot. I wouldn't trade him. I'd make him rot. I dare you to sit out and not be the professional. When we signed you to that 4-year extension for all that money, it was between two professionals, an organization and a player. And at that time, you could have said you didn't want it or you didn't want to be here. And people have been criticizing sports for years, forever, Chris.
Right.
So what? You played poorly. Accepted in the postseason. Doc Rivers protected your butt time and time and time again. Chris, how many times did we talk about it? Doc Rivers protecting him.
Doc actually was I thought he was getting to the point where he's embarrassing himself.
It was ridiculous. And finally, they asked him after he played so poorly, can you win with him? He said, I don't know. I'm not sure. And now his panties are in a bunch and he don't want to do anything. Man, come on with this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Rob, I can't really disagree with anything you said. And I would add to it that Ben Simmons may have, it'll be interesting to see how this goes, but Ben Simmons may have made a grand mistake in refusing to go into the drill. Because now Philadelphia may be able to say, look, he didn't want to play. He broke the contract. He refused to work. And so now he would have probably been better off, not that I would have respected this, but you might have been better off going in there to the drill and just half, stepping and not giving it your all, being lethargic and all that. But now that you've refused to practice, they may have a leg to stand on in trying not to pay you. But Rob, I got to be honest with you. I think you're right. And, from day one, I've said, look, what I don't like about the Ben Simmons situation is that he's refusing to look in the mirror.
Right. He won't accept it, Chris. Right.
Right. I mean, you can be mad about what Doc said, and I do think you're right. If you look at it honestly, Doc had your back all year. And we've criticized Doc, right? We're not Doc apologists. We've said
We've
he
criticized
didn't do
him.
well with the Clippers. We question this hiring, all of that. But the fact is, Doc did have your back. I mean, Doc, remember when he said, anybody who's saying we should take Ben Simmons out because it's Hacker Ben, they don't know what they don't know the game of basketball?
Yep.
That was embarrassing for Doc. And then a few games later, he's taking Ben out. And so he had stood behind him. Then you Joel Embiid, okay, you didn't like what he said. But the fact of the matter is this, Rob. At the end of the day, I've wanted Ben Simmons to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I didn't get it done. I didn't get it done. I've got to get better. I've got to get a jump shot. I've got to improve my foul shooting. I've got to work on my mental toughness, mental strength, whatever it is that's holding me back. Michael Jordan did it right. What did he do when Detroit kept beating him? I got to get in the weight room. I got to be stronger. What did Magic do when he became Tragic Johnson in the 1984 finals? He went to the lab and got better. What did LeBron do in 2011 after he fell apart against Dallas? He got better. They can do it, but Ben Simmons can't?
So many players, Chris, have gotten better when they've had meltdowns or not played well in a postseason or playoffs or in some big spot to get better. And the whole notion that he's above it and you can't say anything about him and he's going to think he thinks he's going to get dressed, come out on the court and say no?
Yeah,
really?
I mean, again, his MO is clearly, I'm going to be a nuisance and I'm going to force them to trade him. But here's the problem, Rob. He's hurting his trade value. Now, when James Harden did it with, 10 years of excellence behind him in Houston, everybody knew, okay, he's just, he's not playing hard. All right, we saw him the first 5 games of the year, average 33 and 10 or whatever it was. We know he's not playing hard. They knew when you trade for him, he's going to be James
You remember Harden showed up looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Right.
Remember?
I don't know how he lost all that weight on the flight to Brooklyn.
Was that a fat suit he had on, Chris?
I know, you're right. It was crazy. But, Rob, I've talked to some people around the league, and it's just common sense. There are people around there. Now, there are those that want him. So it's, it's 32 teams.
No,
30 teams.
there's always going to be somebody who
one.
thinks,
right.
What do they say? One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm not saying nobody wants him. But, Rob, there are people that are like, look, he clearly had a mental block in the playoffs. And you could argue throughout his career because he's not, been afraid to take jump shots. But certainly in the playoffs, Rob, have we seen any evidence that mental block is leaving?
No.
It's gone? It might. I mean, if anything, this could be making you think it's going to be there and maybe even stronger.
How about if he came out, was a good soldier, played a great 15, 20 games, said, I really don't want to help them win, do whatever. Right. I don't really want to be here, but look, I tried to put on a show so that you guys could get your maximum value out of me, let people know that I can play, I've changed my game, but I don't want to be here. That's a mature way of handling it, Chris. And this way, the Sixers are more apt because we got a tradable commodity. Okay, once the guy tells me, but you can't sabotage your trade value so I can't get anything. I can't give you away.
Absolutely. You're right. And I think that's, you say that behind closed doors, Rob, as we wrap up about, look, I still want out, but I'm going to put on a good face and I'm going to play my butt off. I think publicly, Rob, here's what I think he should do. I think he should hold a press conference and say, look, I was upset at myself, the way I played in the playoffs. I was upset with what Doc said about me. I was upset with Joel said about me. I knew I had let those guys down and my teammates and myself. And, I didn't respond well. I understand now that I'm under contract. I got to go out and play. And I'm back and I'm going to do my best. And when he's asked, Rob, by the media, so Ben, does this mean you don't want to be traded? I think you say this. I say, look, I don't know what the future holds. I just know I've got to play better. I haven't played up to my ability, and I'm going to do that now. Whatever happens in the future happens.
And
but right now, I'm a 76er, and I'm giving my all to this team. That's it. And behind the scenes, you say to Daryl Morey and Doc, look, I do still want out, but, I'm going to help you with my trade value, right? And that's it. Ben Simmons, your thoughts?
Marvin in Minnesota, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Marvin?
Hey, nothing. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Doing great.
We're good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm just saying like this. I'm in a union, and if I don't show up, I don't get paid. And a lot of these basketball players, they don't realize how really good they do have it. And I think if that's more enforced, where it's like after a couple of days, it's like, hey, we got to move on from you,
Well, he's not going to get paid for insubordination. I mean, I'm sure there was they've already suspended him for game one,
they
Chris.
Fined
That'll take
him
away
$1.4 million,
right.
I believe.
Yeah, no, they're not going to let him do this. They can't.
You made a good point, Rob. I mean, first of all, and I get it's a lot of money, but he has made a ton of money in his career. And you're right. I think people would respect him more if he went there and said, look, I'm not playing for you.
Right.
Keep your money. Call me when you're ready to trade me.
Exactly.
I mean, again, I gave what I think he should do, but if he did that scenario you pointed out, people would respect that. And I think his trade value would rise because people would be like, okay, this dude's gangster.
Exactly.
We want that type of dude on our team that ain't about the money. He wants the ball. And when he gets in a situation he likes, we think he's going to actually play to the fullest of his potential.
But if you're a GM or a team owner, you go, this guy, look at what he's doing with the Sixers. Right. He won't go in. He's not. If we go get him and commit to all that money, we're going to be on the hook. And this kid could flip on us. So that's the problem.
It's kind of like you said, they always say, Rob, if you start messing around with, say, a married person and, you end up with them and then if they start cheating on you, it's kind of like, well, you surprised? They did it to the other
Exactly.
The other spouse.
You can't even be like, oh, I can't believe you're cheating on me. That's
right.
how we met. You were cheating on your spouse. Right. That's how we met. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's talk to Harvey in Sacramento. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Harvey?
Afternoon, fellas.
How are you?
All right. Yeah, I wanted to say, I don't really like the way that Joel Embiid keep throwing Ben Simmons up underneath the bus. He didn't miss the most games with Philadelphia since he's been there.
He was hurt, though.
Is he throwing him under the bus? I get if you want to say the comment after the game. First of all, it was true, but if you want to say that, I get that. What he said today, is that throwing him under the bus? Or is that just being like, look, man, dude, don't want to be here, so forget him.
Well,
I mean, at a certain point, you're going to be like, man, forget you.
We're listening.
Hello? Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, he didn't miss the most games. So, I mean, he's not there all the time with the team.
He's there
in
spirit. He's hurt. What you going to do if you're hurt?
Come on. An injury is totally different. An injury is totally different.
So with that being said, I mean, is he now all of a sudden taking the preparations to get himself totally together?
You know what? This is the problem I have with your call. This is the problem. I got a problem with your call. So we appreciate your support. But you're calling up here about Joel Embiid's injuries when a guy just refused to take the court for practice. It's called insubordination. Chris could show up at his house to do the radio show and not turn his mic on. Insubordination.
Right.
You think Fox Sports Radio is going to pay Chris today if he don't say a word on the air? There's a problem. Stop it. Don't protect him. What he did today was unprofessional. You can't make any excuse. If you don't want to play, don't show up and don't expect to get a paycheck. That's it.
That's it. Don't expect to get paid. And again, Rob, I get it. It's a ton of money, but he has made enough.
If he made enough, Chris, and he feels good and said, I'm right, then more power to him then.
Absolutely. All right. Former NFL offensive lineman, now Fox Sports Radio weekend host, our man Ephraim Salam. Ephraim, what up, brother?
Ephraim knows
What's
how to
good,
push
man?
back. We love it. Let's do it. Hey, Ephraim.
He knows how to take a licking and keep
That's
on
right.
ticking.
Yeah,
We love
whatever.
Hey, today Ben Simmons. We're gonna do like an NBA. Chris said, "Yeah, let's throw
I mean,
you to
you
the
know,
NBA
yeah,
first."
you're well rounded. So,
But
we
just
wanna ask
the
you about it.
idea that, and I said to Chris, if you're gonna not play and practice and be insubordinate, just tell them, hey, keep your money. I'm not coming. I'm never playing for you until you decide to trade me. But wasting other players' time, not coming out there, not participating. What do you make of that? And did the Sixers do the right thing today?
Look, the narrative it was already established. We got the narrative after the last game last year when they were eliminated, and Doc said what he said, and Joel Embiid said what he said. It was no repairing that. Like, even if both sides wanted to repair it, once things like that start coming out of the locker room, there's no repairing it. So it was going to be what it was going to be. Look, they were like, look, I'm going to show up. I want to get my money. He showed up. It didn't work well. Both sides are afraid. So the best thing to do is part ways. They tried to trade him. The price was too steep. Now they have to really figure out what they're going to do, because unless he is like completely insubordinate or like a detriment to the franchise, they're going to have to pay him. He showed up.
Well, what
No,
about him
not if you refuse to
practice?
practice. You don't have to get paid.
You know, he decided he wasn't available for work. So I think at least for this day, and yeah, if he comes in Thursday and is like, all right, I'll practice.
And they say go into practice, and he practiced, then they
right.
got to pay him. They
It's
can't
different.
hold it against him. But if he doesn't come back and take part in practice or be ready to play in games and refuses to go in, Ephraim, they don't have to pay him.
Well, and I'll tell you this, if I'm his representative or agent or whatever, I'm like, yo, you go, and as long as you're there, as long as you're available, they have to pay you. Whether they want to or not, they have to pay you. So make them send you away. You don't send yourself away.
Right. That's what. Now, look quickly. If you're in that locker room, how are you feeling toward Ben Simmons? I mean, obviously you have far more players in the NFL, 53 on the team, but now you got 12, 15, whatever. How are you feeling if you're in that locker room toward Ben Simmons?
It's time to move on. I'm like, look, you already have to. The players have to already understand we're going to do this without him, right? That has to already. You can't be like, you can't be waiting on him. Like, I think that's the problem the Nets were having. Kyrie, of course, is a different type of player than Ben Simmons, and he brings a little bit more to a team. But you already have to compartmentalize that, hey, this guy may not be available, so we have to get better. We have to get ready to play without him. And I think that's what the Sixers are doing. I think that's what Brooklyn is doing, because, look, they're professional athletes. I'm not going to let another player dictate my success or our success as a team. That's come standard with being a professional athlete.
Right.
What did you make last night of that Buffalo Titans game where they go for it on fourth down, don't get it, and lose the game? Would you have kicked? Would you have? You
got to be able to get a yard. You got to be able to get a yard, right?
But it's easier said than done.
It's not. And I tell you what, I've been in a situation in Tennessee on the goal line, Albert Haynesworth lying right on top of my head, and getting off the ball late, right? Like just a split second, and we watched that left tackle. It just takes a split second of you not getting off the ball when you need to, and a disastrous thing could happen. Lucky for me, they ran the ball to the right, and I was on the left, but it just so happened that left tackle was a split second late off the ball down there on the goal line, where that's the loudest the loudest place on the field is the goal line. That's where the fans are the closest. And so it just took that, and that was it. That was the ball game. It was crazy, man.
So do you think it was the right play call?
You got to go. You got to go for that, man. It's 1 yard. You got to go for that. How you not? I mean,
if
what's
it's
the
that
message, though?
easy, Well,
What do you mean? What's the message?
I think
What's
you
wrong
live
with
to see
tying the
another day.
game?
Right.
No. This is what we're talking about. We're on. It's literally less than a yard for a first. But what was it on the 2-yard line or something? The goal line is right there. What type of message are you sending to your team? Right.
But that happens
we're gonna
all the
line
time,
up. No,
Ephraim.
wait a minute. Wait 1 second. We're going to line up, and we're going to be physical. They can't stop us from getting the first or the touchdown, and that's what we're going to do. It's a mindset for a team, for an NFL team. That's a mindset. All right? Now, you can't fabricate a mindset. You can't pretend that that's the type of team you are. You call the play, you line up, and you get it done. It didn't happen. It didn't work. But the sentiment is there, right? Yeah, you could have kicked the field goal, went into overtime, and gave yourself an opportunity. But you're trying to set a precedent, a mindset. Buffalo is a tough-nosed team, right? They've had leaps and bounds now that Josh Allen is there, and they're trying to become one of those type of teams, very physical up front. And so that's what they did. That's it. I mean, I get it. It didn't work, but I understand what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I just let me give me your thoughts on Derrick Henry and just obviously he's been
Lord.
a monster.
Good Lord.
I think people are going
Well,
a little
let's put it
overboard.
this way.
What they say he's the fastest
what about the
running
MVP?
back. Go ahead.
Well, that was the fast they seen a big guy run. But what about his MVP chance? I mean, obviously, it's kind of become a quarterback's award.
This is a quarterback league.
They don't ever go to
how much-
anybody outside of a quarterback unless a receiver has 2,300 yards receiving or the rushing single-season rushing record is broken. It'll never go to any other player outside of a quarterback.
Wow.
They've already made that abundantly clear. We know that. So
Well, and you know what? The year Dickerson broke the record in 1984, he didn't win MVP.
of course,
But
which is crazy,
Dan
right?
Marino was the first 50 touchdown quarter or 5,000 yard passer that year.
Right. Nobody
ever.
had passed for.
And threw for 48 touchdowns, was like 12, beat the record by 12. So that was an outlier. I do think a running back, like if Henry broke the record, Ephraim, I think he could win it if no quarterback had some spectacular year.
I
But
think if somebody breaks that rushing record, they get the MVP because, I mean, could you imagine?
Well,
Now,
remember, he's got
things
an
are
extra
different because
game. That's the
it's an
thing,
extra
too.
game
Yeah.
now. It's an extra game. So you're right.
People
There's a
might
caveat
hold that
to it.
against him. Right.
There's an extra game. They will hold it against them. But it would just, I mean, Derrick Henry is a grown man. I don't know if you guys have seen him in person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But when I say a
he
grown
was on
man,
our show
I
at the
mean
Super Bowl.
he's a grown-ass man, right? Like, you guys would look like his little nephews standing next to him. Like
Rob didn't
Chris.
think he looked big.
he's real
Rob
deal.
thought
Right.
Rob's taller than him, and Rob
I'm
was
taller
trying
than
to
him, of
flex.
course, but I'm 6'4". But yeah, Chris
Listen to Rob,
looked
like,
like.
yo,
you
I
might
mean,
be 6'4".
6'4".
You might be
I'm-
6'2"
I
and a
don't know.
half. Right?
no,
I
I'm
don't know if
6'4" all the way. Ephraim, don't be trying to squeeze me
I don't know
down.
if you're 6'4". I mean, I've been in the studio with you. Yeah.
Hey,
Ephraim, I like
hey, wait a minute.
seeing- I
When he
like
saw
seeing
Chris,
Henry.
what he did, first thing he did is tried to pick Chris up. That was the first
Yeah,
thing.
right,
Derrick
right.
Henry tried to-
Now, Ephraim,
God.
I like seeing Henry because he's a throwback. When you
Yeah.
played, there used to be backs like that, right? Give me
I
25
love that.
carries. Yeah, I love it too. I wish we had more of that, to be honest.
I think that, the running back position has been devalued so much because
Yep.
people think they can get them from anywhere, any round, undrafted, which you can. But when you talk about elite running back,
Right.
right? When you talk, like when I played, Jamal Anderson was one of those guys. I used to ask him, I said, he'll break off a long run, he'll get right back in the huddle. And I said, why do you? He didn't want to take any breaks. And he was like, I'm not letting anybody get my yards. These are my yards. I'm getting every single one of these yards. And that year he rushed for 1,896 yards. And that's what Derrick Henry is. Derrick Henry is one of those guys where you're in install every week, Wednesday, Thursday. You put up the defense and you install plays offensively. And, the 9-man box is coming. And Jamal used to say, hey, don't worry about the safeties. I'll take care of them. That's how Derrick Henry
right.
is. Don't you guys worry about, the front seven. I'll take care of everybody else. And there's a reason why in the third and the fourth quarter, his yards per carry go up. It's because
Right.
people are tired of it. Those little guys don't want to come up there and do that, man.
Right. You worn down. All right, that's our man Ephraim Salam. Great stuff
Thanks,
as
bud.
always, brother. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.